Welcome back to Chart Request Live, everybody. My name is Patrick Dunawilla. Joining me today, we got Sam Gatlin on the charts. Sam, how we doing?
I'm doing really well, Patrick, and I'm really excited about this week as the NBA Finals is getting started. My local Oklahoma City Thunder are favored to win the NBA Finals, but of course, that's why they play the games. See if they really deserve to win, but they're looking really good, and I'm excited to bring a championship back to the Midwest United States.
There you go. There you go. Well, hey, best of luck to your team there.
Thank you.
And you got any plans to watch it anywhere? Just staying at home?
If it turns into a game seven in Oklahoma City, I don't see a scenario in where I don't go to that. But barring that event, I think I'll just watch it from my couch.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, what do you think of the market action so far these last couple weeks and today?
Well, today in particular has been really interesting. I saw a lot of action on my Twitter over the weekend that World War III was going to be coming to us today. And,
Yeah, I
we,
saw the odds of a nuclear attack like ticked up
yeah,
from like whatever it was. Still
everybody was
small,
talking
but
about it.
still.
Yeah. And certainly the headlines that we were seeing out of the Russia-Ukraine situation were not good. It's not productive for us in reaching a conclusion to that war. However, we are here to make money from the markets, and right now the market is pumping copper. It's loving silver, gold, crude oil across the board in commodities. There has been a major bid today, and it's happening at a big level right now. I've been watching this $5 in copper for a very, very long time. The market has failed to exceed that level for any extended period of time, but we've just been coiling right here at $5. Today, we're up over 3%, pushing new all-time highs in the copper. And also silver is honestly a big one for me too, Patrick. This one's up
Yeah.
almost 5% today. And you can see where this is taking place right at that 61.8 retracement of this entire drawdown from 2011 to 2020.
Yeah, a lot of those metals perking up again. I mean, gold refusing to die, but then you also have some names that don't get talked about as much. You got the palladiums and the platinums perking up a bit too. And
Totally.
then gold miners. One that really stood out to me was the GDXJ breaking out against the GDX. And
Yeah.
also just, on an absolute relative basis, no matter how you slice it, the GDXJ, the juniors, they look good.
And that's exactly what you want to see in a precious metal bull market. You want to see these smaller, more speculative names outperforming the big dogs like Newmont. And that's exactly what we're seeing. And to add on to that point, Patrick, look at this breakout in the GDX. I mean, this is really a thing of beauty. So you have the peak here in the summer of 2020. You just consolidate below it for years. And then here on April 7th, we had an outside week and engulfed like three prior
Massive.
candlesticks and blasted this one to new multi-decade highs. And since then, we've held that level. But not only that, Patrick, but the short interest in GDX is at a new multi-year high. So
Ooh,
there's a
that's
lot of
juicy.
things working for this trade that I
Yeah.
like a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing about this trade is with the GDXJ, you have the GDX as a roadmap for how that one might play out. Because it seems like the GDX is just kind of leading it by a few weeks there. Both charts look very similar.
Totally. Yeah.
But anyway, let's enough about gold. Let's dive right into it. Maybe
I
we'll
could
get
talk about gold for an hour longer, Patrick,
oh,
but
you and I both. Maybe we'll
let's
have to
get
do
to
a,
it.
a gold request live one of these days.
Yeah, I love that idea. Cool.
So let's start it off with Cisco, CSCO. Um, this has been an interesting setup longer term.
For sure. And this one, let's just zoom in to start with. We usually do it in the opposite order, but this one just reported earnings last Wednesday. And no, that was 2 Wednesdays ago. Excuse me. And yeah, double beat and it rallied almost 5%. And since then, you've just been in this beautiful short term, high and tight bull flag trying to break higher. And then when you zoom out too, Patrick, this is what you were just talking
Oh yeah.
about, is we're still stuck below that dot-com bubble peak, and we're not really close to it. Price is trading at 63 and a half right now, and it peaked at 82 back in March of 2000. And this came after Cisco was the hottest stock of the dot-com bubble, rallied, let's call it just shy of 120,000%. And people are calling Nvidia a bubble. No, this one was really the bubble back then. And boy, has it done absolutely nothing for decades. And, to be
Yeah,
honest with you,
Sam.
Patrick, I don't foresee that changing anytime soon.
Yeah, and
Maybe get back to 82, but that's 20 points. It's not going to
yeah,
happen tomorrow.
I know you loved your failed top patterns too. And if you look closely at the weekly, ever since like that, I'd say what, 2017 or something, kind of was threatening to make a top there, but
Right
then
here.
just yeah, just refused to do it too. So you kind of have that working for it too.
But still, it's just it's a slow grind higher. Like, I think looking at it relative to the S&P is illustrative of what I'm trying to talk about here, and that
Yeah.
this one is trading. It has resolved a multi-decade distribution pattern, and it's trading. Granted, it's trading right at that neckline, but until the market proves that this is a failed breakdown, there's really not any alpha here. This is negative alpha. If you want to lose money relative to the broader market, this is a great way to do that. Cisco.
I miss you charting it against SPY there. Yeah, that's pretty
That's
ugly.
nasty. That's not something I'm interested in owning, Patrick.
No. And so many of these strong AI names, like there's plenty of alternatives.
We're
No,
talking about Dell on the beat report this morning
yeah,
too. And this one was one of the hottest in the AI boom when we first started, but it really peaked back in May of 2024 after almost 5xing. And just look at this nasty range. It's just we're seeing this a lot with these big hardware names. Yeah, I think we can throw in super microcomputer into that conversation as well, but just these hardware companies aren't doing that good right now, Patrick. And that's
yeah,
exactly what Cisco is. They're like the hardware name.
yeah.
Unless you're NVIDIA or Palantir, things aren't really that great.
So let's take a look at Tempest AI. I believe this one was the Kathy, or not Kathy,
This is the
Nancy.
Nancy special
Yeah, there
right
we
here.
go. There we go.
Cool. And also, I mean, it's interesting you bring up the Kathy Wood aspect of this, but
Oh, so maybe I wasn't totally wrong there.
Patrick, this is the one, two, three, four, five, six. This is the sixth largest holding in the ARK Innovation ETF. I
Ooh,
mean, this is right up there with Robinhood and Palantir and Coinbase and Tesla. That's where Kathy Wood has this stock placed. And today it's up 16%, but still, it's an $11 billion market cap relative to those others, which are like hundreds of billions
right. Good
market
point.
cap. So I think that's really interesting how much she's valuing Tempest. And yeah, I'm pulling up my short interest on my other screen here, and it has 23% short interest, which is
Man,
near its highest level ever.
Trading View has to figure out their short interest thing because I always have to go back and forth between Koifin and Trading View for that. Um, but I have my chart drawn up the same exact way. IPO VWAP in there, um, which reclaimed it last week there. Looks like on Friday, right? Um,
Yep,
or is that today?
that's today. That's today's
Okay,
action,
today.
up
Oh,
16%.
16% move. There you go.
Nice
Yeah,
little ripper to start the week. How you doing?
there we go.
I think this is the way to trade it though, Patrick. This is just a big messy range, and I think you could make the argument that it's turning into some type of inverted head and shoulders.
Yeah.
I could
And
draw it out for everyone if you're not getting the
how
picture here.
how would you treat that false breakout there?
I wouldn't put too much weight on it. It's confirmation. So here's how I see it. I want to fib from there, but I think you can start building positions at the 61.8 retracement, right? At $70. You can add to it at $80, which is above these former highs, and then you can add another leg. So this could theoretically be a three-leg trade. and you buy at 70, 80, and then you buy at 90 when it reclaims this pivot high from February.
Yeah, like kind of building up the position as it kind of gives you more and more confirmation.
Exactly. That's how I see it. If you are a Tempest AI bull, that is, in my opinion, how I would execute. And right
Yeah.
now you're up 16.5% today, so we could be trading above 70 tomorrow. Just let it dance, but as long as it's below 70, I think you want to leave this thing alone. But if it gets going, I mean, this one could be a very, very high flyer.
All right. Well, we got Donovan in the chat here asking you about ARMN. He says you're gonna like this one.
Yeah, yeah, he knows what I like. So this is Eris Mining, that's ticker
Ooh,
ARMN,
very nice.
and this is a darling in the gold bug community. I don't dig all that deep into the gold miner fundamentals, but I do have gold mining fundamental friends, and they tell me that this one has the best assets in the market right now. And, I honestly have a hard time arguing with that when the chart looks this good, Patrick.
Yeah.
This one went from, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but this is just the way I'm thinking about it. This one went from, let's call it a high of $487 down to a low of 66 cents. And now it's completing a textbook bearish to bullish reversal pattern that has been taking shape for years. And I expect this new uptrend to last for years. And I don't think it's going to be just a simple you take your gains after a 20% move. But I think this is really one of those gold miners that is a moonshot, Patrick. I think this one has the potential to go from $6 to the former high around over $400. So I don't know, 6,000% gain in this one. I mean, that's not going to happen anytime soon, but this is a major, major trend reversal, and I love the Eris mining. And shout out to Donovan for bringing it along and letting me talk about it because this is amazing. I mean, how many charts look like this in the gold mining space, Patrick? I look
Yeah.
at a lot of charts.
Yeah.
None of
I
them look
mean,
like this.
there are a lot of nice looking miners setting up right now. And I think just going through some of them, like going through the GDX and some of these kind of lesser heard of names, I don't think it's a bad idea. Don't think it's a bad idea at all.
Totally. I think they have some leap options too for you options junkies out there. Go out to 2027 or whatever, buy the farthest out of the money strike you can get. I mean, that's my mindset with this.
All right. Wavy wants
Shout
to
out
check
Eris Mining.
out EPU. Long, 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 he says.
EPU. So we want to look at Peru, huh? Is this wavy?
Peru. Yeah.
I could have guessed that, and I'll show you why. Look at this big base in Peru. I mean, we talk about these international bases all the time, Patrick. Peru is just about as good as they come. So you
Oh, yeah.
have this high from 2011, which is when rocks peaked around the world. And if you know anything about Peru, they don't have any tech stocks. They make money by pulling rocks out of the ground. So for rocks to be in a bull market like they are right now is a very, very bullish catalyst for the country of Peru and their equity markets. And if you look on my other screen, I have the EPU, the Peru ETF holdings, and so the top three sectors are materials at almost 50%. You have financials almost 30%. And then you have consumer discretionary, which is almost 6%. And then you have Credit Corp, which is a big bank. That makes about 24% of this total ETF. And then you have Southern Copper as 20% of the ETF. And then you go down the list and you have Hochschild Mining, you have Buenaventura, you have Wheaton Precious Metals, you have Triple Flag Precious Metals. It's just a whole bunch of mining stocks after those
Wow. I
financials
didn't
at
realize
the
it
top.
was that heavy in the miners.
Yeah, they're really involved with the rocks here. So if EPU is above 48, I think you can start building a position. That's the 2013 peak. I mean, theoretically, you could have been getting involved here at the 2018 peak and started buying at 45 and buy more at 48. And then eventually this one breaks out above 50 and you have your full position on for a ride towards 70. That's how I see it. And then if we just look at some of these mining stocks, they're some of the strongest in the copper and gold mining industries. So here's Southern Copper. This is probably my favorite way to express a bullish thesis on copper through the equity markets. I really like this, reclaiming the VWAP from that May 2024 peak. Let's look at BVN too. This one also a darling. So they have a lot of not only copper, but they also have some gold exposure here in the BVN, just breaking out of this symmetrical triangle with an absolute explosion today, up 7%. One's likely heading back towards this former peak. And finally, let's look at wheat and precious metals because this one, I mean,
Oh,
look at today's action.
oh yeah.
This one is gapping going to new all-time highs. And if you overlay this one with gold futures, they're exactly the same, Patrick. This is the
Isn't
best way to express a bullish thesis on gold through the equity market. And it's not really going to give you the juice, but it's just going to track the performance of gold the closest. I mean, as you can tell, these lines are identical. You know, if I removed the names and made them the same color, you couldn't tell me which one was which, Patrick, is the reality of it. And so, yeah, I think wheat and precious metals is leading the way higher. For gold, I think gold is going to be making new all-time highs probably tomorrow, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but
Yeah, I mean it's just
that's what's
been
up with Peru. What did you
yeah.
think about that? Anything stand out?
I didn't that was a great breakdown by the way. I didn't know that they were so heavily exposed into mining. I mean it's almost like the Peru ETF's like a small little GDX version.
Yeah, that's a great point, Patrick. It looks an awful lot like a lot of those gold mining ETFs. That's a really great point.
Yeah. And what a comeback, even though it had the Barron's magazine cover, gold just refusing to die there. And like you said, all-time highs probably just a matter of time.
And this was a really nice pause in what has been a really epic uptrend. And you'll notice that gold has just been such a smooth uptrend for over a year now, since March 4th, 2024, when it really broke out. You know, we've had one consolidation pattern here, then another in November, then another this year in May. And it's just slow and steady grind higher. I just love it so much.
Let's take a look at PRCT.
Well, biotech action, how you doing? This is
Well,
a
biotech.
$3.25 billion biotech. And yeah, I'm not really sure it's a biotech, probably more med tech. So this is like they're trying to be intuitive surgical.
Okay.
So let's pull that up. So intuitive surgical, in my opinion, is a magnificent seven stock. It's currently $200 billion, but that's in my mind where it lives. You know, it's just an absolute monster of a company. You know, you look at this long-term monthly chart, and this company just keeps getting better. I mean, it's an absolute beast, much like a lot of its Mag 7 peers. This one's rallied 73,000% this century alone. And it's just such an amazing industry that they've built there with robotic surgeries. And so you have two competitors really that I'm aware of. You have this Globus Medical, who did look really nice earlier this year in January, but it's gotten completely blasted after a few bad earnings reports. I think this was the worst earnings reaction of all time for GMED. So, you know, maybe this one's a scam. I don't really know if they are or not, but this one, you know, it honestly looks very similar to GMED, you know, hanging out at last summer's lows. It's not a great look. I I think you could also benchmark this to Intuitive Surgical. And you'll see that Intuitive Surgical has been, I guess we should do it the other way, but it's been a dramatic outperformer relative to PRCT. And if you're buying the laggard in the industry, by definition, That's not a great way to go about investing and trading. I don't like that very much. So I would stick with Intuitive Surgical. It's a great company.
Um, I got a little bit better of a chart here. ASND. This one comes from Mr. Zerby.
ASND. Is this right?
ASND. Yeah, Ascendis Pharma. Still in the same neighborhood.
Fantastic. So this is almost a $10 billion pharma company. Let's see. From Denmark, too, I might add.
There we go.
And
Getting a
yeah,
little bit of that
who brought this
international.
along, Patrick?
This one comes from Mr. Zerby.
Mr. Zerby. Good for you, my friend. He brings great charts to this show.
He sure does.
Time and time again. I don't know if he's ever had a bad request. I mean, this is such a beautiful chart. I love the Danish exposure. I don't think investors have enough exposure to the great country of Denmark. And if you are lacking that in your portfolio, I think ASND is the way to go. So this one rallied 1,700%. This one was a huge winner from its 2016 low to its 2020 peak. And since then, it's just carved out a big, beautiful base and consolidated that massive bull market, gearing up for its next leg higher, which I very well think could take the stock to $300, $400, Patrick. I think that's pretty easy for a stock like this to accomplish over the next year.
Yeah,
Of course, you need to see the breakout above 185 first. There's nothing to do in the stock right now, but I think we could have the breakout by the end of today's close, for all we know. It's right there, eight
it's
points
certainly
below that
not.
level.
I just checked on short interest, 6%. It's not juicy, but it's not nothing either. So for something at all-time highs.
For sure. And you can see, I like to look at the chart of short interest as well, not just the absolute terms, but is the short interest making new highs? Is it making new lows? Is it range bound? And on this chart, the short interest has been oscillating between 10 and 6% for years now at this point, since the beginning of 2023. So take the short interest with a little bit of a grain of salt. It's just doing its thing. It's not really spiking.
There you go. Yeah, not a huge signal there.
Yeah.
So this one comes from Jules. We'll do this one and then one more. ABBV. He asks, is it getting ready to break out from a bull pennant pattern? Wondering how you two might play it. So ABBV, ABBV.
Yeah. It's a beautiful chart.
Look at all these healthcare names.
And yeah, so AbbVie, this one has been a bellwether in the biopharma industry for many decades. And my cat is here. Please
The
forgive
last
me.
couple of weeks have been getting awfully tight.
Let's
I
bring
see
the
what he's
cat into
talking
the
about.
show. So yeah, this is a $328 billion pharma company. Let's see, Patrick, is this the biggest pharma company in the entire world? You've
AbbVie?
got Lilly, and then who do you have above that? You've got Lilly, Johnson, AbbVie. So it's the third largest pharma company in the entire world. So this
Ooh,
is a beast. And I would also like to point out the relative strength too. XLV has been absolutely terrible, awful, no good, very bad for a long time now, but AbbVie has continued to show a ton of relative strength within the sector. And here it is trying to break out of a massive base relative to its peers, trying to break out to new all-time highs after a 7-year consolidation. So I think this one is a leader in healthcare. And you look at the absolute chart, and it doesn't really look all that exciting. It's just in a massive range. But I suspect there's a big level here that we can trade against if we're anticipating a new leg higher. And that really is 685 to me on higher time frames, Patrick. That has been support recently. It was resistance in 2022. So, this one's really just stuck in the middle of a range right now on a higher time frame. strength does come into this one over shorter time frames. I think you could just get into it with a VWAP anchored to the all-time high. So if this one doesn't happen to get back to those mid 160 levels, I think you could buy this one on strength above 190 and potentially right at its new all-time highs. But I like AbbVie a lot over longer time frames, just kind of messy over the
Yeah.
short.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
Um,
3.5% dividend yield too. So
but leaning on that VWAP for if his question was about the coil, so
okay.
that
Okay, so I
VWAP is
answered the
probably the
question
best.
then. Yeah, if
Yeah,
this is a coil and this is a little base right here with a higher base right here, one might call this a cup and handle formation. If that is in fact what's going on here, you'll get confirmation on a close above that 190 level, which could take this one to 215. So yeah, I think that certainly is potentially in the cards. But again, I would go back to this longer term chart where you can see clearly that this one's just in a range. So let it dance, come back to this one in a few months, and maybe the setup will look better. That's how I would
good
treat
stuff.
something like this.
Well, let's wrap it up with Toast here, TOST.
I love the toast. I don't know who brought this one along, but I think we were talking about this one last week on Chart Request Live. This is a
Yeah, this one
Josh
comes from Abraham.
Abraham. Man, good eye. This is a Josh Brown special. I swear every time I turn on the CNBC, Josh Brown's talking about the toast. I mean, this guy just gets excited every single day about what Toast is doing. They're completely revolutionizing the restaurant industry. They are providing software for all of the restaurants, not just in the United States, but globally too. Stock has also been rewarded for 5 out of its last 6 earnings reports. So the market loves the fundamentals here. And I think the chart speaks for itself. It's really a thing of beauty. So this is much like, I think we can go down the list, look at Robinhood, look at Dutch Bros, all those prior cycle IPOs or SPACs. They all look very, very similar. And Toast is right there with them. Carving out a little cup after, no, this is the handle. So it carved out a handle from November 2024 to now, and the cup of the base really took place from early 2022 until it broke out in September of 2024. So this is many years in the making, and yeah, I think above 45, and this one has 70 written all over it, Patrick. Uh,
Yeah.
Anything else you'd add? I don't think any
Um,
VWAPs are helpful right now.
I would say maybe short interest, but not giving
I
you
don't
any.
think there's much there. There's
But it
This
looks
isn't a
great. I mean, it's
scam. This is a
holding.
good fundamental company.
Yeah, I mean, it gapped up after earnings a few weeks ago, and it's holding that pretty nicely. So uh, that looks like a nice little base it's been working on since the election there, and
Yeah,
it's like I'd be surprised if it didn't resolve higher at this point, up towards
totally.
6.
Yeah. It's a $25 billion company too, Patrick. Like not a
Is it
lot of
really?
people talk about this one, but they're doing over $1 billion in revenue each quarter. So I think this is something that's going to be here to stay for a very long time. And if you're interested in holding a great company for many, many years, buying a breakout above 45 could, in hindsight, be a very, very good investment decision looking back at this chart in a decade or something.
Great stuff
I'll
as
recommend
always,
that.
Sam. We're gonna leave it here for today, but we do this every week. If it's your first time joining, be sure to come back. And if we didn't get to your ticker, be sure to email us at questions@stockmarketmedia.com, and we'll be sure to get to it on Monday. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.